What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Wrestling with Cards, Chikara. Yes, that's right. Today we are talking about Chikara wrestling cards, and we've got none other than the slam dancer himself, Chuckster, on the show today. You guys know that when there's rare, obscure sets that come out, if Chuckster or Paul has got them, they're coming on the show to talk about them. And let me tell you what, there is some very interesting information that comes out of this video. Information that we got from the people who actually produce the cards and background on those cards. And just tidbits of information that these other card companies, a lot of them don't give us as the collectors. But before we jump into that, as always, just a few ways that you can help show your support for my content. The easiest thing you can do, and it's free, hit the subscribe button, give me a like if you like what I'm doing, or if you like this video or Chikara halfway through, you're like, oh, this is cool, give me a like and subscribe. Make sure to check out the podcasts I'm a part of, Wrestling with Cards, the podcast, my solo podcast, as well as the Worlds Collide podcast with myself and Tony Vella. Links to those in the show notes. Make sure to check out the Wrestling with Cards Patreon community, where for as little as $1 a month, you can be a member of the community and get access to bonus content, as well as get your opinions heard in the show. There's all kinds of tiers and stuff you can do there. Check out my eBay store. I've got 99-cent singles all the way up to graded cards. And of course, links to my social platforms and donation links if you want to buy me a coffee. I've got coffee right there. Again, links in the show notes for everything I've mentioned, but enough of that. Let's get to talking to Chuckster about Chikara cards. What is up, wrestling card fans? Chuckster's back on, so you know that we're going to be talking about a maybe hard to find, maybe obscure wrestling card set. You got to watch to find out. Chuckster, welcome back. It's been a while.
Thanks, Ann. Glad to be back. How's everybody doing?
Doing great. I'm always happy to have you on the channel. Like I said, always bringing the information for these sets that maybe the mainstream doesn't know about. So today we're talking Chikara. And the thing that kind of got me kicked off on this is I used to watch a little bit of Chikara back in, there was that time period where like indie wrestling, like you were super hip and cool if you liked indie wrestling. And I wasn't trying to be that, but I remember going and trying to find those DVDs and, tape trading, because even though those were on DVDs, I was still actually trading tapes with some people back when Chikara was like first a promotion. And it's a very interesting promotion. And one thing that got me kind of kicked off on the cards was Caleb, Collecting with Caleb, which you should make sure to check out his YouTube channel. He did a DVD opening, and it's crazy. Like, you guys want to talk about condition sensitive wrestling cards? The card he opens up, I don't want to spoil anything. You got to go watch his video, but the condition is just something else. So when I saw him open that, and then like, I think it was either a little bit before or a little bit after, you were like, hey, I've got this Chikara set. And I was like, oh, this is perfect. So I'll just turn it over to you to kick it off and talk a little bit about Chikara and the history of the promotion.
Okay. Well, first of all, I just want to say hi to everybody. Sorry, I've been kind of laying low lately, but I'm back. I wanted to talk about Chikara because it seems to have been getting a lot of main talk on Twitter lately, and people just really been starting to get into it. It kind of laid dormant for a while, but I know this past year a lot of new collectors have gotten into wrestling card collecting, and some of the new collectors may not know what Chikara is or what it's all about. Chikara is a little indie-based wrestling promotion out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It was originally started back in 2002 by Mike Quackenbush and Tom Carter. Most of the old school indie followers will know Tom Carter better as Reckless Youth. Two of them started this promotion together called Chikara. That wrestlers really wrestle in a lucha libre type wrestling matches as opposed to just the regular wrestling that you see on TV now. And about 75% of their wrestlers are under masks, which means, believe it or not, some of the wrestlers can wrestle as a couple different characters because you have no idea who's under the mask. But they started in 2002. Reckless Youth left after about a year. So basically it was Mike Quackenbush's ownership. And they also trained a lot of combat zone wrestlers. I don't know if you were aware of that or not.
I was not. I mean, that makes sense with the logistics right there.
Exactly. So there was a lot of cross promotion between those two because he and his trainers trained actually both organizations, and they actually just shut down in what year was it? Just recently, around 2020, I think it was, they finally just kind of closed the doors. And they've been running shows sporadically from about 2002 up until just currently. And they actually stopped shows for a while and then resumed them about 2016, ran through about 2018. I think they're still around in name only, and they still have like an office, because some of the information that I'm going to cover here today, I actually contacted Chikara Wrestling and got some information from their customer relations manager.
That's a shock in itself that they were able to give you any information about the cards.
It was, and I actually got one of the cards, which we'll get into in a little bit. And but I just thought it was a really neat organization. I just found my notes. June of 2020 is when they closed. They opened in 2002 and they closed in June of 2020. But
I bet it was right in the height of when all the COVID stuff was running rampant and you were seeing companies shutting down. So yeah, that timeline makes sense.
Has to be, because I retired in March of 2020. So that was when COVID was just starting to get crazy.
Gotcha.
So anyway, that's basically what Chikara is, and it's a really fun organization. If you can get to see any matches from it, or if you can get a DVD and watch it, you won't be disappointed, because this stuff is some amazing. If you like lucha libre wrestling, this is your organization to watch.
Have you looked to see if much of it is on YouTube? I know for me, like, I want to go back, and I'm a huge classic wrestling guy. So if I want to go back and watch some AWA or some Memphis or WWWF, that kind of stuff, a lot of that stuff can be found on YouTube. Is there much Chikara on there? I haven't looked yet.
I've never really looked. I've just gone by what I've seen on the DVDs. And
Gotcha.
The DVDs are just, you can pick them up pretty cheaply, and they're worth every penny of it. I've sat and watched mine about 3 or 4 times, because I see something different every time I watch.
It's easy to do with that promotion.
Exactly. And evidently then, when Chikara got pretty popular with their fans, they started handing out, I don't know if they sold them or just handed them out at their shows. They started making trading cards, but they didn't make a whole set at a time and sell it or hand it out. They just did a few cards at a time, put them out at shows. So it took a lot of years for these cards to get out into the collecting public. And one of the unique things that I found out when I've done the research on this is everybody, including myself, was under the impression these cards were released from 2006 to 2010. And I've always been under that impression myself. But thanks to the young lady that I spoke with at Chikara, I found out they were released 2006 to 2010, and then another chunk of them was released from 2016 to 2018. And the way to tell the difference is the ones that were released earlier had a dark blue, almost indigo colored blue border around it, and the ones that were released later have a light blue background. So if you're buying these cards and you think, man, they look totally different set, it's really not a different set. It's just they were released later, therefore they changed the way they featured them on the cards. There's actually 39 cards in the entire set. However, they're only numbered to 38 because one card is numbered 0.
Of courch, like that seems like a very Chikara thing to do.
And it was a female Japanese wrestler named Manami Toyota.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
She made an appearance with Chikara, and they did a promo card for her, so they numbered it 0, and then the rest of the cards 1 through 38. So you have 39 cards total in this set.
And now is that covering both releases?
Correct. Yes, that
okay.
Covers everything clear up to 2000 and what I say 2018.
2018. Yeah.
Yeah. So all the dark blue bordered ones was from 2016 to 2000 or 2000. Yeah. Get your numbers right, Chuck.
16 to 18, I believe. Is what
16
you said.
Yeah. 16 to 18 was the last, and then 2006 to 2010 was the first batch of them. and then 16 and 18 was the second batch. Yeah, I got that right.
Yep.
So
how are these released? I don't know if that's where you were going next, but you know, if they're released in 2 different batches, and we know that at least some of them came in DVDs, what is the story on the actually release of these things? Do you know?
Well, they were all released at their shows. However, when this DVD release came out, the people that were putting in the DVDs wanted to put cards in the DVDs. So they came in and just pulled chunks of certain cards out of their inventory and stuck in the DVDs. And originally I was told that there was only 4 of the major ones that were pulled to put in the DVDs. But recently the one I opened, the one Caleb opened, isn't on that list of the ones that I was told was in a DVD.
It's so wrestling.
it could be there could be maybe the entire set. Who knows?
Right.
But like I said, I was only under the impression that 4 was pulled out of the set to put into the DVDs. But Caleb, I watched his video the other day, I won't spoil the surprise for what he pulled if anybody wants to watch it. But the one he pulled wasn't even on my list of the ones that I heard was pulled for the DVDs. But just
for clarification, it was a card that was listed as in that 38 card base set, correct?
This is correct.
Okay.
Yes. And from what I'm told, there's just so much stuff I need to talk about this set. So I don't want to kind of run over things. I want to try and do it right and make sure we get everything right. This set features so many people that started out on the independent scene that are now really big names in the pro wrestling sport. A lot of them are under masks, so you wouldn't know it was them. And I'll get to a story here in a minute. I found out that one of them won't even admit that was him under the mask.
Yep.
But there was a guy by the name of Claudio Castagnelli. He is now Cesaro.
Yep.
In the WWE. He was a big deal in Chikara. There was a guy by the name of Chris Hero, and I think he wrestled for Ring of Honor, if I'm not mistaken, for a while too. Yeah. He was wrestling in the WWE as Cassius Ohno. So, you know, there's another name that's pretty familiar with indie people. Chuck Taylor, he's now in AEW as part of the Best Friends tag team with Orange Cassidy and the guys, you know, and Trent. And so that was kind of interesting. Here's another guy, Lindsay Dorado. He was in WWE's Lucha House Party tag team. So, I mean, there's really big names, and most of these guys were under masks at the time. Now Cesaro wasn't. He wrestled, you know, without a mask. Eddie Kingston is in this set.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, Eddie Kingston makes a double appearance in this set. He has his own card, but then he's on another card being caught in the headlock of one of the wrestlers. You can just see him at the bottom of the card.
Gotcha.
Locked in a headlock. So the Super Smash Brothers are in this set. They're now in AEW as part of the Dark Order. It's Stu Grayson and Evil Uno are part of the Dark Order. That's who Super Smash Brothers was. A big name that everybody will know, Brodie Lee, is in this set.
Yep. To
everybody's recollection, this, I guess you could call a true rookie. And because I know rookie's a tough thing to get into, but I think this probably would be his true rookie. First appearance on a card. So, and that one was pretty easy to find until recently, until his passing, and now it's kind of skyrocketed and got very scarce.
That's the one that, you know, if you know how it is, sometimes you just end up like stumbling into wrestling cards and you don't know what they are, or people put them on social media, just part of their collection. I think the Brodie Lee is actually the first Chikara card that I saw. If you don't count the Phil Singer game, are you familiar with those? The Phil Singer game cards had a huge Chikara set, but actual trading cards, this Brodie Lee card is the first one I think I ever saw. So I just want to throw that in there.
That's cool. That's cool. And then I want to talk about for a minute, probably the most popular, the most in demand Chikara card is the Colony.
Yeah.
Everybody wants the Colony. There's a very few elite group of people that do have the colony. I'm one of those few because I just completed the set. That's the reason I got a hold of you. I have all 39 cards now.
Nice.
The colony featured a bunch of guys dressed as ants, like a colony of ants.
And it sounds silly, but like when you see like a lot of this Chikara stuff on the surface is silly, but then you like see the promotion and you're like, okay, I see what's going on. So yeah.
So one of the guys in the Chikara colony as an ant is now Orange Cassidy, who is a big star.
Right.
And the story that I am hearing is that he will not admit that he was the fire ant.
Right. I've heard the same thing.
Yeah. So now whether he was or whether he wasn't, I don't know. But if you really do a Wikipedia search on this, they list him as the fire ant. And another one of the ants, I think he was the soldier ant, was Drew Gallagher. And he's been with the WWE and he's been with Combat Zone. So Drew Gallagher is fairly well known too. So he was another one of the ants. So I just think that's pretty neat, you know, that these guys just started out under masks and now here they are on mainstream TV. So like I said, there's a lot of big names in here that nobody knew about at the time. Chikara is actually taken, the name of Chikara is actually taken from an old Japanese word, kanji, which means strength. I found that I was just doing some little, searches to find out some little tidbits about it. And I just found that was a little interesting piece of trivia.
Yeah.
So it means strength from the Japanese word kanji. So, and believe me, some of these guys are strength.
Yeah. Especially Cesaro.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And we were talking about the DVD.
Yes.
They have a few DVDs out, but they only put the cards in one DVD title.
Okay.
And that was this one right here, The Best of Chikara. And it actually states on the front down here, one trading card included. So these are still pretty. I found this one at an old FYE store in our area last year, and it was still sealed and had the card in it. And I pulled Hydra out of mine.
Cool.
And so it was a pretty neat. And even if you don't have a card in it and you really want to see what Chikara is all about, get this one. This has some of the best matches and the most entertaining matches on it. It's just a really fun video to watch. Now, a couple of things that I found out when I talked to the lady at Chikara, it turns out that, I wanted to kind of show you the difference that I'm talking about in the borders first.
Sure.
The first set had the dark blue borders.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there's Cesaro. That's his first card. And see how it has that dark blue border all the way around. It lasted with that type of border until towards the end, and then it became like a light blue. Okay.
Those are the ones I'm less familiar with.
Yeah, the numbering on them continued from where this one ended. The numbering picked up with this type of card.
Gotcha.
So, and there really isn't anybody in that set that I'm real familiar with from that point on. There's only like 8 of them, the last 8 cards, 31 through 38. Another thing that she told me is that when they printed up these cards, Mike Quackenbush, the guy that runs the place, he would inspect the cards as they were delivered. And if something didn't look right to him, he would refuse them.
That's interesting.
And there was one card which I have found to be a pretty popular card, Eddie Kingston.
Mm-hmm.
But she said the Eddie Kingston card, it was towards the end of the run, the cards started around the borders. Like if it was centered, that meant it was near the front of the run.
Right.
But later on, it started being off-centered and the borders started having color issues. And a lot of the Kingston cards had color issues on the border, so he wouldn't accept them. And instead of the printer reprinting them, he just refunded their money. So that to me tells me Kingston's a short print.
I wonder, did they say what they did with all of the extras? Did they just pitch them?
Well, they didn't accept them. They didn't take them from the printer. They just refused them.
So I'm wondering if the printer threw them away or if they are floating around out there somewhere. Have you seen any pop up that you can tell the difference?
Well, unfortunately, one of my favorite cards, I think, was one near the end of the run. And that's my Colony card, because it is not centered at all.
Okay, so that's starting to make sense then.
It's sitting right here. You can see how it's got the blue border on this side.
Oh yeah, that's way off.
Nothing along the top. But I had to have it to complete my set.
Of course.
So, you know, I mean, and this card doesn't come up for sale much, so I had to have it. Another card that was pretty neat is Mike Quackenbush had his own card in the set, but he was also a member of a team called Los Ice Creams.
Yeah.
These were guys that dressed up as clowns and had ice cream cones on their head. Okay. He was under one of those masks. So he actually has two cards in the set. He has his own and he has his ice cream cone card.
And this is exactly the goofy stuff we're telling you guys about with Chikara. Like, it sounds silly, but you just got to watch it.
And these guys are amazing. I mean, watching their match on this Chikara CD, they have one. I have a match on here. It's amazing. It's just, it's really fun to watch. So anyway, when I started collecting these several years ago, I actually bought a lot of them on eBay as a lot. And there was 31 cards in the lot. And I knew there was only 39. So I thought, wow, this is great. And obviously the big ones wasn't in there. The Colony wasn't in there. Ice Cream wasn't in there. Hollow Wicked wasn't in there. Some of the really big names, Sweeney wasn't in there. So I had to go on a deep dive for those. Along comes Anthony out, Husker has. I got a hold of him. He has a complete set. He knows a friend of his that have a complete set, and I have a complete set. There's probably other people out there that do. I know of a couple other friends of mine that are working on them, trying to get there. But he finally ended up getting me Colony, Ice Cream, and Hollow Wicked.
Oh yeah.
Those are four really difficult ones. Those are three really difficult ones to find. And the fourth difficult one to find was Larry Sweeney. We tried and tried and tried, and Sweeney just wasn't appearing. So after I had 38 of these cards, I put a little post on my Twitter. I said, hey, if there's anybody out there who can help me track down this Larry Sweeney card, it's the last one I need. About a week later, I get a DM from Matt Delakas. And he's, I don't know if I think you follow him on Twitter. He's
Matt's great. We've had him, me and Tony have had him on our Worlds Collide roundtable before. I haven't had him on this show. Hopefully we'll get him someday.
Well, he sent me a DM one day. He had ordered a Colony card from Chikara. He got a hold of him and wanted to know if they had one that he could buy. So they told him they had one that they would sell to him. And evidently, unbeknownst to me, he asked them about the Larry Sweeney card, knowing that I needed it. So he sends me a DM. He said, Chuck, check this out. And they had sent him a note, said, yes, we have a Larry Sweeney card. Here's the price. If interested, email us. So he sent me that note. He said, go get it. So no sooner did I get his DM, I emailed them. And within 20 minutes, they responded, yes, we have it. Here's the price. I said, where do I send the money? And they told me. And within a week, I had the Larry Sweeney card, which I needed to complete my set. Larry Sweeney, unfortunately, has passed away.
Right.
Very, very nice looking, very centered card. There's Eddie
Kingston. Yep.
Yeah. So from what I understand, they had quite a feud in Chikara for a while.
Man, the wrestling card community, once again, coming through for one of their own, helping you out with that. It's just amazing.
They sure did. They sure did. And so he helped me out, and I think he ended up getting a Sweeney card also. I don't know how far along he is in completing the set, and I know Caleb and I have been in touch a lot too, and we've been kind of bouncing little pieces of information off of each other about this set. And the other day when he opened that DVD on his show. I emailed him. I told him, or I texted him and told him, wow, I didn't even know that one was in the
Right.
it was in the DVDs. So it was pretty interesting little conversation that I had with the woman. But she said some of the cards, she said the more mint the card looks, the closer to the beginning of the print run that it is. The more it gets off centered, and the more the border coloring on the border gets. Mm-hmm. That's a later print run, and they're not, they're just not as well done as the originals. But I just think this set is amazing with all the different people they have in there. Again, I'm hearing like Orange Cassidy being under that mask. I'm hearing that he doesn't even admit to being right. The fire ant, but it's pretty obvious that if you watch his style of wrestling, and you actually see him wrestle a match instead of his little King of Sloth style that he sure. does now. It's pretty fun. But so anyway, those are some of the things I wanted to touch on this set. If you really want to see my entire collection, please go to thewrestlingpriceguide.com, which is run by Paul Anand, which you had on here not too long ago. I've sent him the images of my entire collection. He's already uploaded them, and he has a flip through on his site. So just hunt up the Chikara Wrestling thing on his site and scroll to the bottom, and he has a complete flip through of my entire set of cards of these.
I'll see if I can take that link and put it in the show notes here when people are done watching this, so they can just go down and click on it.
And also, Anthony at Husker has a good chunk of these on his site for sale.
Okay.
He doesn't have them all, but he has quite a bit of them. So, because since he started updating his site, and he's been updating a lot recently, he contacted me and told me he had a lot of those up for sale, and I went and checked, and he's got some pretty decent price on them too, like he always does. So, but so that's kind of all the information I got on this. But I just thought a lot of it was just interesting for maybe new collectors coming into the hobby that doesn't know about this, and I just wanted to share it and talk to you about it and see if you had any questions or anything I can.
I got two things that came to mind while you were talking. The first one is, I can't believe that whoever you contacted with Chikara actually had that much information about the cards, because as you know, and I know, everybody who's been in this for a little bit knows, these companies, you get a hold of them and they might answer like, oh, what we actually had trading cards. We didn't even know we put out trading. They just don't have information, let alone print runs or the information that you got. Is there any other information that they gave you, like as far as like, is this like, it's weird too that the company is shut down yet their customer service still responds to you. We definitely aren't getting that with Fleer anytime soon, but like, what is there any other kind of tidbits of information that they gave you? And do you think that if they still are they holding these cards back? You guys were able to buy them from them, so immediately my light bulb went off in my head, like, are they holding back sets? And do we have print runs, anything like that?
I cannot get print runs. I've tried that, but these cards actually, they don't have a lot. These cards actually come from Mike Quackenbush's personal collection.
Okay.
And I'll kind of read you a brief paragraph of what she wrote to me.
Sure.
She said, we do get offers from resellers that want to flip the cards on eBay or Mercari from time to time, but I feel certain Mike is only letting cards leave his personal archive for the sake of real collectors like yourself that want a complete set. The cards with the dark blue, almost indigo borders were made between 2006, 2010. The ones that are lighter blue are the later cards, which were 2016 to 2018. I'm not much of an expert, other than I can tell you that cards where the image is centered and the cut of the card is very even are from the start of the runs. By the end of some boxes, the colors had shifted visibly and the borders are not as neat. The more mint the card looks, the earlier in the production run it's from. There were some cards where by the end of the run, they were being rejected for quality reasons. Some of the cards we should have hundreds of in our inventory, but because they were too far outside of what Mike considered acceptable, they were rejected at delivery. This has also impacted some of the cards' availability.
Right.
Since, just as an example, over 100 of the Eddie Kingston cards were refused due to the wild color variations. Rather than reprint the balance, the printer just refunded the balance, leaving us with short runs on several cards. So evidently you can still, if you contact them, if you're a collector, and of course I explained to her who I was and what side I was associated with.
Right.
And because I didn't want her just thinking I was going to be one of her flippers. and I was putting this in my personal collection. So I was really pleased that she gave up that much information.
Yeah, it's shocking. So, I mean, we can't even get that from like companies that are doing modern printing, of whether it's indie sets or new up and coming like independent companies doing like Legends or current, a lot of, they won't give that information out. So to find that information from a company that's, I guess, technically out of business, still willing to provide that, and not only that, but help out the collectors, that's amazing. And you brought something up that actually is a good transition to my next question. And this is 100% your opinion. I want to know what you think. So you've seen it, I've seen it, we've been in this for a while. It seems like what I'm seeing a lot on social media is people go after a rare set. So first it was, All In, and then it was like the Bola sets. And then, AEW, I'm not going to call them an indie, but the AEW Upper Deck stuff took off. And then we're seeing Chikara. And we've seen some other like indie sets or, food issue products that are more, from like the mid 2000s to now. So I'll call it a little bit of newer stuff. We're seeing a lot of this stuff come out as far as popularity. Like all of a sudden people are chasing these things and they're willing to pay, decent amount of money to try to get them or trade for them or what have you. And, you spoke about it, the links that you went to get these cards to finish your set. But my question is, what I've seen a lot of is it seems like people are going from one thing to the next. And it could just be maybe the people I'm seeing, but I see a lot of people there, they go after the next thing. Well, all of a sudden they're wanting to sell the stuff they were just going after. And you talked about flippers, and I'm not saying that they're flipping stuff, but it just seems like a lot of people, they're getting something and they're just moving on from it very, very quickly. I've talked about before on some of my content, whether it's the podcast or these videos, that, it's okay to change your mind if you're collecting something and you hold it for a couple of years and you decide you don't want it because you want to move on to something else. Sure, maybe you can make some money, but maybe you don't. That doesn't matter. It's okay to change your mind and the way that you want to collect. However, it's just kind of striking me weird. And I'm wondering, like, are some of these people new and they're just not experienced with actually collecting? Or do you think it's FOMO? Do you think it's a money grab? Have you even seen some of this activity that I'm talking about? What do you think?
Yeah, I see it. And it's funny because whenever I find something that I'm kind of interested in and I'll post something about it, for instance, this Chikara, I didn't really see a whole lot of people talking about it. And then I started posting, I'm hunting this, I'm hunting that. And then all of a sudden, everybody jumped on the bandwagon. It's like everybody's trying to, I want what you got.
Right. Yeah.
And I mean, I don't care. It's fine. Yeah.
Sure.
But
yeah.
But it just brings more eyes to the hobby. But don't do it just because I'm doing it. Do it because it's something you really want in your collection.
Right.
And I could see people, buying it just to do the flip. But with this Chikara set, I don't see people letting this go.
Right.
People are grabbing it up and they're sucking it into their collection, and it's staying there because it's just such a rare and unique set with so many superstars in it right now. And but yeah, I do see that with some sets. I do see people just going on and maybe they found something they want better and they know that what they have is going to cover the cost of whatever they want, maybe they're just buying this to help them advance their current collection.
I just feel like so many of them are so short-sighted. Like, not like, I don't know. Like, it doesn't do any good for me to buy a card and then, 2 weeks later, just get rid of it. Like, if you're going to flip something, sure. But, most of the people buying these, I don't perceive them as flippers really. and they seem so excited and passionate about it on social media about, I just got the All In set. I just got this Bola set. I just found 16 AEW blasters. But then the next thing you know, they're like selling them. And I don't understand it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess it's just a different way of collecting for some people. I mean, I'm an old school collector. Once it gets into my set, it's locked in. It's not going anywhere, unless I have an extra or something. Yeah. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah. And that's how, like, I don't like, I like to really pin my stuff down, and there's certain things that I'm just like you, like, it's not like I would only sell it in a dire need situation type thing. Mm-hmm. And then there's other stuff that I do move on from that, maybe I held it for a couple years and I really enjoy it and it's still a cool card, but you know what, there's something else that I think would fit kind of that coffin card, as Brett McGrath likes to say, that's something that's going to stick in your collection. Maybe I see something that I feel really will do that, and I can get rid of this stuff to do that. I understand that. But I mean, again, to see somebody so excited and passionate about a product 1 week, and then 2 weeks later they're selling it, I just don't understand it.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it's just the thrill of the chase. And
Could
then
be.
once they've got it, then okay, the thrill's gone,
Yeah.
and let's move on to something else. Let's get excited about something else.
It could be, and people can just document their collection and their journey through Instagram or social media or some of the other websites that do photo hosting or video hosting, YouTube, what we're doing now, etc. Maybe they want to get it, take the picture, say that they had it, and then move it on. That's not for me. I don't understand that, but hey, I guess if that's the way you want to collect, and if that's what takes it to get people more involved in wrestling cards, I guess so be it, right?
Right. And we have got so many new faces in wrestling now.
Man. Yeah. And it's just this is the year. If 2022 doesn't explode wrestling cards to the mainstream, I don't know what's going to, because we've got the Upper Deck releases that have been huge, and for the most part brought in a lot of new collectors that are, either lapsed wrestling fans, or maybe they are AEW diehards and they're like, I want all the AEW stuff. And now we've got them chasing those yellow parallels in the action figures. So that's fun. We've got WWE Prism coming out. I'm so excited for that. It could be the biggest wrestling card release ever. It could also be the biggest flop ever based on the checklist and pricing and what they're going to do with that. So that is one of the most exciting years of wrestling cards. And then to have like information about Chikara come out in the middle of all that, it's just, just icing on the cake. So
exactly. And this AEW set that just came out, I've just been so excited about. I was excited about it a year before it was released,
right?
And that's all I talked about for a year. And when it finally came out and I got into that, saw that price thing going on, it kind of soured me a little bit, but I thought, nope, I want this set. I'm going to go after it. And I have now completed everything except for the Wednesday in action, and I will complete that.
And let me ask, in doing that, did you bankrupt yourself like everybody thought that you would?
No.
See, no. There you go. I tried telling people and they just won't listen.
Because because the people that have bought, and I bought 7 boxes. So that's not kidding myself. I spent a lot of money on it, but I had the money to spend. Sure. I didn't hurt myself.
Well, yeah, but you also actually purchased them to see what would happen, and you didn't just complain. You're like, it's something you wanted, you worked to get it, you got it.
And but I completed the base set. I completed the gold parallel set. I've completed the top rope, the Rhodes in action, and the main features sets. I've completed the canvas cards.
Oh, cool.
And I'm 13 cards deep into the Wednesday in action. So I got 20 more to go of those. I'm going to have those. But they, in the beginning, all this stuff was going for really high dollar amounts. And now it's kind of leveling out to a point where it's affordable.
Mm-hmm.
And because I'm on a limited income, I'm obviously not going to get these Wednesday in actions all at once. It's going to take me several months to do that, because I only have so much a month I can spend on cards. But I plan on doing that, because I was looking at the next AEW release that they've already announced, and it's a nice looking set, but it's a little too steep for my blood for 1 box.
Well, it looks like it's a little bit different than I look at you as like the traditional master set collector, you and Paul, that's what I know you guys for. So if I need information or opinions or anything on that, you guys are the guys for that. And this new update that they're doing, or this second release, I should say, it just, to me, it doesn't look like something that's going to fit in the typical collector's collection as far as like base sets go. Do you agree?
Yeah, it reminds me more of a Leaf release, a high-end Leaf release.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
And because, I mean, Leaf does good product, and I bought a lot of that in the beginning, too, when I was still working and was able to afford it. And they released one box with 5 or 6 cards in it at a time. And that seems to be what this new Upper Deck set's going to be, although it's going to have more stuff in it. It's going to look like every card is going to be a hit of some sort.
Yeah, I think it's like one pack in a box, and I think there's 7 cards in a pack. So basically, you're only getting 7 cards in the packs or in a box. So that's
only 3 of them are base cards, so the rest are hits.
Yeah, so, which is it seems like that's what people have wanted, but I'm not saying I'm worried because I don't care. But people want the hits, but they're gonna have to pay for that. And I think that's going to be we've already seen people complaining about the pre-order prices for these things, and they're not even coming out for several months. So it's an interesting space that we're in with wrestling cards for sure.
And like I said, I'm going to take the money that I had thought I was going to spend on the new Upper Deck release, and I'm just going to use that money and go towards the Wednesday in Action, try to complete that. That's all I need to complete, and I'll be done with my AEW.
Well, maybe we can get you back on when you get done with the full run of AEW that you're working on, and we can just talk about your overall opinions on that. Me and Tony and others have talked about it, but we're not getting a lot of opinions from these master set collectors like yourself and Paul. So it'd be interesting once you get it all put together what your final thoughts are. But thanks for coming on the show today. Thank you for being a pillar in the hobby with wrestling cards and supplying information and the work you do with WTC, which I'm not sure a lot of people know that you're working on the site as well, and along with Paul, and there's some others. Let everybody know where they can find you and anything else you got to say before we get out of here.
Just find me on Twitter, Chuckster. Everybody knows me. Just hunt me down. I'll be there. DM me if you have a question. I'll be glad to do what I can to try to answer. Obviously, I don't know. I'm not the know-all and end-all of this stuff. I can give you my opinions.
Sure.
But, and granted, I know a lot, but I don't know everything. That's for sure. Nobody ever will.
Right.
But and of course, I do work for WTC. I supply checklists and images for him, and I supply Paul a lot of images for sets that he don't have, so he can put them on flip throughs on his site. So I'm pretty well. I'm just popping up everywhere. But I'm just really glad to be able to talk about this Chikara set. I do have the complete set. I just like to be interested to know if anybody else has completed the set. Again, I only know of about 3 other people that have. So just kind of like to know who else is in the elite group. Again, I want to give a shout out to Anthony at Husker House, of Matt Delakis, and Caleb for helping me get this set complete, because without their help and their encouragement, it wouldn't happen. And my little bank account too.
As I said, the wrestling card community coming through to help each other. It's a great thing. We have our hiccups from time to time, but overall, it's like nothing I've seen in any other types of cards. So we'll put the link in the show notes to the flip through on Paul's site. We'll put the link to your Twitter as well. And if you guys have these Chikara cards, or if you maybe have more information or something we didn't mention, or maybe there's another character under a mask that is in another company or something like that, leave a comment below. And also you can reach out to me or Chuckster on Twitter. We'd be happy to include you in the conversation, or, you can DM us. I'm sure we'll be able to help you out with that. But again, Chuckster, thanks for coming on. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you. Wow, what a great conversation with Chuckster about these Chikara cards that are a little bit harder to find, and kind of the stories about the cards from the people who produce them. I did not know a lot of that information, and the fact that a company that's out of business would then talk about some of the stuff with their printing and the issues and how some of them were thrown away. A company that's out of business. We're definitely not getting that from you, Fleer. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to check out Chuckster on Twitter and the flip through of these cards. Links in the show notes. And while you're looking at the links in the show notes, make sure to check out all the ways you can help support my content. Patreon, the podcast. The easiest thing you can do, again, is hit subscribe if you haven't already, and give this video a thumbs up. And until next time, click the videos on the screen for more great wrestling card content. We'll see ya.